comes, there is no darkness. Similarly, all the ignorance is gone when one gets the opportunity to see devotees like all of you. So I feel so blessed. So this Purushottam month is going on, as you all know, and all of you are following this month so nicely. So as per our plan, we will read Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, entitled Purushottam Yoga. And then we will read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So I'm sharing my screen. So I'll read the first two verses, then Nandini Mataji can read the next two, and Kashish Mataji can read, and Ramchand Mohan Prabhu can read, Umesh Prabhu can read, then Kirti Mataji, and then Samta Mataji, and then Vijay Mataji. Okay, so let's start. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Purushottama Yoga. Athaha Panchodasha Dhyayaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Urdhva Moolam Adha Shakham. Ashvatham Prahuravyayam. Chandamsi Yasya Parnani. Yastam Veda Sa Vedavit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Adhaschordhavam prasritastasya shakha guna pravriddha vishaya pravala adhascha mulani anusantatani karmanubandhini manushya loke. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society.
Dandavad Pranam, text 3 and 4. Narupam hasyeha tata palabhyate nanto na chadir na cha sampratishta ashwathama enam subiruddha moolam asanga shastrena dridena chitva tatha padam tat parimargi tavyayam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tam eva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravritti prishrita purani. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Text 5. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvera vimukta sukha dukkha samagyar gachanti amudha padam avyayam tat. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Sloka number 6. न तद्भास्यते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यत्कत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धामम paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Verse number 7. Mameva vansho jiva loke jiva bhutah sanatanaha Manashasthani indriyani prakartisthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, do I read now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Dhanava Pranam, Hare Krishna devotees. Sariram yad avapunoti ya kapi utkramatisvara grihita vaitani samayati vayurgandha evasya. The living entity is the material in this material world, carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Srutam chakshu sparsanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adisthya manas chayam visyan upasevate. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of air, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, text number 10. Utkramantam sitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudananupasshanti pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. Translation: the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of modes of nature, but the one whose eyes are trained in the knowledge can see all this. Yatanto yogina shainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatanto api akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha. The enduring transcendentalists who are situated in the self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in a self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, it's a text 12, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yadam adityagatam tejo jagadbhashayate akhilam yad chandramasi yad jagno tat tejo vidimamakam. Translation: the splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of the world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Text 13. Gama vishya cha bhutani dharayam aham ojasa kushnami chaushadhi sarva somo bhutva rasatmakam. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, text 14. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Prachemi Annam Chatur Vidham. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuff. 15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vaidescha sarvaira aham eva vedyo Vedanta-krit Vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. द्राविमो पुरुषो लोके क्षर अक्षर एव च क्षर सर्वाणि भूतानि कुटस्थो अक्षर उच्यते. There are two classes of being, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible. And in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्त्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहत यो लोकोत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यवेश्वरः. Beside that too, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anurag Prabhu, you want to read? 18 onwards.
Yes, sure, Prabhuji. Yasmat kasram atito ham aksharad api kotam ato sami loke vedesa pratihat purushottam. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. Yomam evam asmadu janati purushottam sa sarva vid bhajeti mam sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Thank you.
Vipul Prabhu, want to read last verse?
Text 20. Iti gujja shastram idam uktam maya naha itad buddhava buddhimam shat krita pityascha bharata. Translation. This is the
Do me a
most
favor. Shut the fuck up.
conventional part of the Vedic scripture. O serious one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will
Hare Krishna. Looks like some people have entered this thing which should not be here.
I'm sorry. I don't speak Indian, bro. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Okay, looks like you're joining the wrong meeting.
Yeah, I think I joined the wrong meeting. I'm sorry. I don't speak Indian. I'm not Indian. I'm not in India.
What's up, boys?
Hare Krishna. Okay.
I mean, if you just let me chill, we wouldn't have any like, you know.
Okay.
Are you fucking India?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Okay, so looks like I logged the meeting. It has happened in the past also, so I don't know how the Zoom was changing some settings today or yesterday, and I guess that's has happened in the past. Anyways, I'll just complete. Sorry, Vipul Prabhu. I'll just complete the last verse. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Om Tatsaditi Śrīmad-Bhagavad-Gītāshu Upanishadshu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yoga Nama Panchodasha Adhyayah. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much again to everyone for joining. And now we will read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as per our plan. It's 8 p.m. Do you want me to share the screen? Who all want me to share? Who all feel benefited from sharing the screen? Okay. Okay. So even if one person is finding value, we will share the screen. But ideally, it's recommended that we should have books and we use those. But I understand some days we may not be right front of our book. So let me share the screen. So now I have to enable the meeting room and keep an eye there as well. Okay, let's just add it to the work. Okay, let's share the screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my humble obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Narayanam namaskrityam naram shaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Govardharam Dharam Vande Gopala Goparupinam Gokula Utsavameshanam Govindam Gopika Priyam Vande Navaghana Shama Dvibhujam Muralidharam Pitambaradharam Devam Sharadam Purushottamam. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth-Raj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, entitled Instructions for the Civilized Beings, Civilized Human Beings. And we read till text number 51 yesterday. Yesterday means Friday, because on weekends we have special katha. So we were talking about the two paths of the Vedic two Vedic paths. One is called the Pravritti Marga and one is called the Nivritti Marga. In the last 2-3 verses, we were discussing about the Pravritti Marga. We discussed the example of King Prachini Barhi, who had spread the whole world covered with kusha grass, doing karma kanda yagya, etc. So anything done with the intention for material gains, whether it is going to upper planets, etc., not leading to back home, back to Godhead, is basically karma kanda, fruitive. You do this, you get this. You do this, you get that. But let's talk about the next aspect, which is called the Nivritti Marga. From text 52 onwards, let's study this. Nishekadi samsana antai sanskara sam skrito dvijaha indriyeshu kriya yagyan jnanadipeshu juvati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. A twice-born Brahmana, Dvija, gains his life by the grace of his parents through the process of purification known as Garbhadana. There are also other processes of purification until end of life, when the funeral ceremony Antyeshti Kriya is performed. Thus, in due course, a qualified Brahmana becomes uninterested in materialistic activities and sacrifices, but he offers the sensual sacrifices in full knowledge into the working senses, which are illuminated by the fire of knowledge. Purport. Those interested in materialistic activities remain in the cycle of birth and death. Pravritti marga, or the inclination to stay in the material world to enjoy varieties of sense gratification, has been explained in the previous verse. Now, in this verse, it is explained that one who has perfect Brahmanical knowledge rejects the process of elevation to the higher planets and accepts the Nivritti Marga. In other words, he prepares himself to go back home, back to Godhead. Those who are not Brahmanas but atheists do not know what is Pravritti or Marga or Nivritti Marga. They simply want to obtain pleasure at any cost. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore training to give up the Pravritti Marga and accept the Nivritti Marga in order to return home, back to Godhead. This is a little difficult to understand, but it is very easy if one takes to Krishna consciousness seriously and tries to understand Krishna. A Krishna conscious person can understand that performing yajna according to the karma kanda system is useless waste of time, and merely giving up the karma kanda and accepting the process of speculation is also unfruitful. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur has sung in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Kevala Vishera Bhanda, Amrita Bolia Yebe Khaye, Nana Yoni Sada Fere, Kadaraya Bhaksha na Kare, Tara Janma Adha Pate Yaya. A life of Karma Kanda or Jnana Kanda is like a poisoned pot, and one who takes to such a life is doomed. In Karma Kanda system, one is destined to accept birth and death again and again. Similarly, with Jnana Kanda, one falls down again to this material world. Only worshipping to the Supreme Person offers the safety of going back home, back to Godhead. So, in this particular text, Narad Muni is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, that's the two parties talking for those who are joining less often. Narad Muni is speaking this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And you have a question, Prabhu? Raise your hand. Okay. So, Pravritti Marg we discuss is elevation. Atheists do not even follow the Pravritti Marg. I mean, even Pravritti Marg, like someone who is following pravritti marg, it means they have some sense of some higher power. They're worshipping some demigod, they're worshipping some, higher power to get something higher. That's better than being atheistic. Atheistic means just live life king size, enjoy, work hard, party harder. Life is meant to enjoy. Who cares about tomorrow? Pravrittimarg people do care about tomorrow. They do care that, oh, next life we want to be born in as a Indra, or we want to go to Indra planet. We want to enjoy there. At least there is some, sense of law of karma, action and reaction. But that's not the highest thing. That's not the very intelligent thing, because why do we want just short-term so-called pleasure? And after that, Shina Punya Mrityu Loka Vishanti. Again, come back to this material world. So intelligent people, as mentioned here in Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna is mentioning multiple times, the qualified Brahmana or the Vaishnavas. So the sanskaras are mentioned. It starts with the Nisheka or the Garbhdan sanskara, and there are multiple sanskara. So Nisheka and Shamshana, Antai, Sanskara. There are so many sanskara, like Vivah Samskar, Shamshan, Antyeshti Kriya, that's the last rites, and then multiple sanskaras are there, starting with the Garbhdan sanskara. So, which is important, which is very, very important, and devotees must try to do as far as possible, because they are the purificatory processes, and it helps us to align our consciousness. And they are basically, if done in the right way, they help in the Nivritti Marga. And what is Nivritti Marga? Preparing ourselves to go back home, back to Godhead. Not just short-term gain, not just temporary gain of going back to demigod planets. So Prabhupada is quoting Narottam Das Thakur. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda is like a vessel. Bhanda. Bhanda means vessel. What kind of vessel? It's a vessel of poison, Vishera Bhanda. So why would someone take a vessel of poison? No intelligent person would take a Amrita Boliya Ek Hai, thinking that it is nectar. Amrit means nectar. So one thinks it's nectar, but it is not really. And what happens? Nana Yoni Sada Fire. Again and again, Punarapi Jananam. Okay, one can be born in Indra. One can be born as an Indra, that one can be born as a pig in the next life. You know that famous story, Indra became pig. So the idea is to take to bhakti. And yet Gatva Nani Vartante, we are reading every day. That place, Krishna mentions twice in chapter 15, if you observe, one in the 30 and 4, that having attained once, there is no return back home, back to Godhead. So that is Nivritti Marga. That is the path of bhakti. Otherwise, Prabhupada is mentioning, it's a waste of time. Karma Kanda is waste of time. So, very, very powerful verse. Anyone has any comments or questions on this one? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, Ramchand Mohan Prabhuji, would you like to read the next one, 53?
Yes, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam devotees. Indriyani manasi urma vachi vai karikam mana vacham varna samanaye tam omkare sware niyasat omkaram bindao naretam tam tu prane mahate amun. Can you take the screen up, Prabhuji? Thank you. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The mind is always agitated by waves of acceptance and rejection. Therefore, all the activities of the senses should be offered into the mind, which should be offered into one's words. then one's words should be offered into aggregate of all alphabets, which should be offered into the concise form Omkara. Omkara should be offered into the point Bindu, Bindu into vibration of sound, and that vibration into the life air. Then the living entity, who is all that remains, should be placed in Brahman, the Supreme. This is the process of sacrifice. Should I continue, Prabhuji? Should I continue?
Sure, Prabhu.
Okay. The mind is always agitated by acceptance and rejection, which are compared to mental waves that are constantly tossing. The living entity is floating in the waves of material existence because of his forgetfulness. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has therefore sung in his Gita Vali, Miche Mayara Vashe Yacha Bhishe, Kat Khacha Habu Dabu Bhai. My dear mind, under the influence of Maya, you have been carried away by the waves of rejection and acceptance. Simply take shelter of Kṛṣṇa, Jiva Kṛṣṇa Dasa, Vivasa Karleta, Ara Dukha Nai. If we simply regard the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa as our ultimate shelter, we shall be saved from all these waves of Maya, which are variously exhibited as mental and sensual activities and the agitation of rejection and acceptance. Krishna instructs in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, Umesh Prabhu, you want to read the remainder?
Yes, Prabhu. In Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Bhaja Aham Tam Sarvapapyabhyo Mokshayashrami Masujaya. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Therefore, if we simply place ourselves at the lotus feet of Krishna by taking to Krishna consciousness and keeping always in touch with him by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we need not take much trouble in arranging to return to spiritual world. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is very easy. Hare Nama, Kevala. Kalayu naste, eva gati, anyata. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Thank you, Ram Mohan Prabhuji and Umesh Prabhuji for reading this nice verse. So again, the Nivritti discussion continues. That basically the mind is agitated by the waves of acceptance and rejection. And these are the dualities: lamentation, hankering, profit, loss, health and disease, and sometimes happiness and sadness, acceptance, rejection. So these are the dualities in the material world. And no matter who we are, there will always be dualities because that's the nature of this material world. Nityam, it is not eternal, and this is Dukhalyam and Ashashvatam. Shashvatam means eternal, and Ashashvatam means opposite. It's not eternal. So there will always be ups and downs. Habu Dubu. Sometimes up in the material ocean, the tides will take us up, sometimes down, up and down, round and round. Sometimes wealth, sometimes poverty, sometimes happiness, sometimes disease, sometimes profit, loss, acceptance, rejections. Like a pendulum, we keep tossing Material world will keep us tossing up and down. Until what point? Until the point Jiva Krishna Das e Vishwas Karle Tara Dukhunai. Oh Jiva, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, oh Jiva, referring to all of us. You are Krishna Das. You are the eternal servant of Krishna. E Vishwas. Have this firm faith, have this firm conviction. Karle, have this thing in your heart. Then there is no more dukkha. Or dukkha nai. There is no more dukkha. Because that person, like if a small child is under the protective care of the father or the mother, do they feel fearful? No, it doesn't. Some of you have children. So does your 4-year-old, 3-year-old ask you, like, will you get food for me tonight? Will you get, a place for me to sleep? They know, okay, my father or mother will take care. So they don't worry about the food. All they have done is just take shelter. Whenever they need something, they'll call out. Mom, dad, mama, papa, whatever language, they will call out. So all we have to do is call out Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the best way to call out. And chanting is basically, as Prabhupada said, calling of a child who's crying for his parents. That Krishna, I'm lost. Krishna, I'm your eternal servant. I'm lost in this material world, moving up and down. Habu dubu bhai. Please, I want to take your shelter. And I want to be with you. I want to establish my relationship with you. Then Krishna will take care. Do not fear. That's the idea. So from the dualities, we can be in the state of always happy. A devotee is always happy, whether it is in heaven or hell, loss or disease, or health or disease, loss or profit, up and down. A devotee is equipoised. So how will that happen? The more sincerely we take shelter, as Prabhupada is mentioning. If we simply place, so beautiful, if we simply place ourselves at the lotus feet of Krishna, by taking to Krishna consciousness, by always and keeping always in touch with him by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Let's repeat this. This is so beautiful for those who are seeing online. Yeah, here. Therefore, if we simply place ourselves, let's meditate upon that, at the lotus feet of Krishna, by taking to Krishna consciousness and keeping always in touch with him, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we need not take much trouble in arranging to the spiritual world. All the trouble Krishna will take. We don't have to take any trouble. Will I go back home? Will I go in this life? Well, don't worry about it. Krishna will take care. Are we doing this process? If we are doing this process, then he'll take care. This is in our control. This is how we are showing our sincerity. If we are doing this, rest he'll take care. Mashucha is telling, do not worry. I'll take care. Why you worry about going back home, back to Godhead? He'll take care. Because this is the only way. Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada is putting the statement of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Nam, no other way, no other way, no other way. Multiple times repeating. If you're thinking, no, is there another way? No. Is there another way? No. Is there another way? No, really? No. Okay, no other way. So, all we need is to have that faith to place ourselves at the lotus feet of the Lord, continue chanting, continue serving Vaishnavas, continue reading Bhagavatam, and rest all will be perfect. Any comments, questions anyone has? Any realizations, anything you want to share or ask?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we hear this verse all the time. So one question just comes to my mind. Krishna says to abandon all religion, but isn't chanting and following Krishna consciousness also a religion?
Chanting? Basically, abandoned religion is basically Kaitab dharma. Don't take, I mean, you don't have to abandon real religion. Kaitab dharma is so-called religion, because in this day and age there are so many so-called religion. Same as the example of become nirguna. Nirguna doesn't mean, no guna. Nirguna means no material guna. So similarly, desireless. We have to become desireless. That does not mean we have to become, as we discussed recently also, we free from greed, free from material greed. Spiritual greed is very good. Similarly, giving up dharma, giving up so-called dharma, which is Kaitab dharma, which is pseudo-religion, that we have to give up. The other, the right dharma, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranito, that dharma which Kṛṣṇa is telling through the medium of Guru Sadhu Shastra, through Bhagavad Gita, through Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, is basically the pure teachings we have to follow. If we give up the pure also, then we'll become too detached. One person in our college was like, said, I have become so renounced, I've given up chanting also. You don't have to become so renounced that we can give up everything. Giving up everything doesn't mean give up chanting also. So, giving up the bad and accepting the good.
Haribol?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Dhanyavad Pranam. I just want to add that in the translation, Prabhupada adds that for this verse, a very nice question from Shimila's Prabhu, that give up all this, renounce knowledge of knowledge, mind control, meditation, etc. So Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Kṛṣṇa. And surrendering to Kṛṣṇa means chanting, is my opinion. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice. Okay, let's move on. Namasitas Prabhu, you want to read next word?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. Dandavat Pranam, everyone. Text 54. Ajini sarvo diva prahnam shuklo rakotaram swarat vishwota taijasa pragyas turya atma samanvayat. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. On his path of ascent, the progressive living entity enters the different worlds of fire. The sun, the day, the end of day, the bright fortnight, the full moon, and the passing of the sun in the north, along with their presiding demigods. When he enters Brahmaloka, he enjoys life for many millions of years. And finally, his material designation comes to an end. He then comes to a subtle designation from which he attains the causal designation, witnessing all previous states. Upon the annihilation of this causal state, he attains his pure state, in which he identifies with the super soul. In this way, the living entity becomes transcendental. So this verse, I'm thinking it is more of the Pravrti Marg, which is slowly progressing to higher planets and finally reaching Brahmaloka. And we know Brahma is a soul that had 100 lifetime without any sin and followed Dharma well. So, and Indra also has, so now Purandar is Indra, and then Bali Maharaj will become Indra in the next Manvantara. So similarly, the souls will slowly get elevated and they can come to the stage of Brahma and from there, if they're purified, they can go above the material world and can realize the super soul or Paramatma realization. But this is only reaching the Brahma Jyoti level, and they're not having the highest realization of Bhagavan realization, where Prabhupada has given us this shortcut that if we understand Bhagavan and become his devotee, we don't have to go through all these different stages like Gopakumar in Bhagavatamrita. We know he goes to all these stages, and then he goes to the Brahma Jyoti. He sees Sadashiva there, and then he goes to Vaikuntha, and finally he comes to Goloka Vrindavan. So that is a very, very slow process. But if we follow Bhakti Yoga, we have the elevated process to go directly to Krishna, because we take shelter of his lotus feet and follow the principles laid out by his pure devotees and serve the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So nicely explained. Anyone has any comments, questions? Okay. Let's read text 55. Yes, Vipul Prabhu, you want to read?
Text 55. Devayanam idam prahu bhutta bhuttanu purvasha atmo yaji upashanta mo hi atma sthona nivartate. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. This gradual process of elevation for self-realization is meant for those who are truly aware of the absolute truth. After repeated birth on this path, which is known as Dhyana, one attains these consecutive stages. One who is completely free from all mental desires, being situated in the self, need not traverse the path of repeated birth and death. So how a soul who are self-realized go to the ultimate destination? It was explained in the previous and this verse. But as just Bhumsal Prabhuji said, by taking Krishna consciousness, we can easily perform our sadhana here and go back to the Godhead. Also, very simple way. Back to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. As we discussed that there are different paths of liberation in different yugas, etc. In Kali Yuga, the path is very simple, and the recommended process is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And for that, like Bhagavad Gita talks about, okay, meditate upon the tip of the middle of the eyebrows and half eyes closed and half eyes open. Go to the forest and with deer skin, and so many complex things are also mentioned. Even in this chapter, we read those. So the Nivritti Marg also, Nivritti means path to liberation. In that also, there are multiple paths. Some are more complex. Who can pretty much do this? No one. Very, very complex. But who can do chanting? Everyone can chant, irrespective of their birth, irrespective of their sex, their money, their financial, their education, any background. Anyone can chant. And that was we read again. Simply taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. This process is called Devayana, as we discussed. So, but not the process which Lord Chaitanya is recommending. So Prabhupada mentioned in the second one verse before how we have to take the process of Yagyai Sankirtana Prayas. All intelligent people in the age of Kali must take to this process because it is simple, sublime, and recommended by the Lord himself. It's not that Prabhupada concocted something out of his own. This is Lord Chaitanya giving this process himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranito. So he inaugurated the Yuga Dharma, especially for this day and age, especially for the fallen souls. The most merciful comes for the most fallen. Any other comments, questions anyone has?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that since ours is the most recommended process for this age, and chanting is is supposed to be the easiest process, but in other parts, for example, dhyana yoga, there is a certain protocol that is to be followed. Like when you meditate, you have to keep your spinal cord straight and your body shouldn't touch the ground. So as far as chanting is concerned, we are asked to do offenseless chanting and try to concentrate on each and every syllable of Mahamantra. Apart from there, are there any other protocols that to be followed, that one should be straight and one should process in a particular this thing, or any such things to be followed for chanting?
So, as Lord Chaitanya says, there are no hard and fast rules. The idea is to hear attentively, as you mentioned, and even try to hear attentively. Hearing attentively is also a big task. But as Mahatma Prabhu mentioned, are we sincerely trying to hear attentively? That's the idea. So are we trying to build that good samskara of trying to hear attentively? When we try to build that samskara, one day we'll be able to hear attentively. As far as your question is concerned, we discussed, I think, a couple of days back, one could be inattentive on 3 levels. Inattentive on the level of body, inattentive on the level of mind, and inattentive on the level of heart. Inattentive on the level of body means multitasking, where we have Japamala in one hand and we are doing 10 things at the same time. It could be watching something on the phone or cooking or driving or 10 of different things. So we are inattentive on the level of body. What to speak of going deeper? The next level is on the level of mind. We are not doing something physically extra while chanting. We are just chanting physically, but the mind is making plans for tomorrow. Mind is making cooking plans, office plans, vacation plans, whatever, timetables, task lists, whatever. Thinking about tomorrow, future, present, past, etc. And then inattentive at the level of heart. Okay, we are thinking about trying to think, but the mood is not there. The sincere calling, like prayerful calling of a child towards a parent. So that's the inattentiveness on the level of heart. So inattentiveness on the level of body, proper posture can help. Yes. So we do the Hatha Yoga basically has these 8 limbs, Ashtanga Yoga. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So we can follow some yoga processes which will help us, as Prabhupada mentioned. Actually, it came that one can do some yoga and pranayama. It was very clearly mentioned. One must do rather. The GBC is saying devotees are not taking care of their health. This is from GBC. Devotees are too transcendental, prematurely transcendental. They're not taking enough care of their health. It was an article on Dandavats, which is a very good resource for devotees. So we must take care of health. Now there could be a situation that, okay, one can't sit on the floor, one can sit on a chair, but one should not, so one should not just lay down and chant unless one is really sick. If one is, has some surgery or something, one is in hospital, even one has to lie down and chant, that's fine. But whatever our situation is, if one can't sit on the floor, one can sit on the chair and chant. So it's not that the rules are not as strict as in other processes. like, going to the forest, back erect and all. No, one should sit in a comfortable posture in which, like, create a comfortable environment and try to focus. That's the idea. Whether it is sitting on the ground or whether using some wall support or back support or using some cushion or sitting on the chair, it should be comfortable, but not too comfortable so that one sleeps only. Like, like sitting on a rocking chair and rocking. So, yeah, the rules are not as strict. The rules are very simple. Is it helping me to chant? Always, if we are in doubt, we should ask, is this thing helping me to chant better? Will Prabhupada be happy seeing, am I doing my best in this situation to chant better? Then we'll get the answer. Does that help? Or
Yes, Prabhuji, because there are many times these days we have a very sedentary lifestyle. So there are many times when you want to walk and chant. So I would always wonder whether it's the right thing to do. So that's why I asked the question. Thanks.
now you may get different answers for that question. Some devotees will say, yeah, absolutely fine, walk and chant. But as we are moving forward, we should try to increase our standard. Some will say, okay, driving and chanting is fine. It's better than not chanting. Walking and chanting, fine. It's better than not chanting. But there's always good, better, best. So we have to see where we are and are we moving in the right direction. So Prabhupada was walking and chanting, but Prabhupada was walking and chanting at the age of 70 years. And with we cannot compare ourselves to Prabhupada. Generally, it's best, again, it's the best thing. Then we can try to gradually move to it. The best is to sit and chant in the Brahma Muhurta hours with devotees or our family devotees, or some Prabhupada Japa tape, or some deities or some picture near Tulsi Maharani. That's the best. The mind is focused, the body is focused, the senses are focused, the heart is focused. Now we can try to gradually reach towards that state. So if someone says, well, can't I chant in the evening? Well, you can chant in the evening. It's fine. Not saying it's wrong. You say, can't I chant, walk and chant? You can chant. It's fine. It's better than not chanting. But what is the best? We have to always keep that and try to go towards there. If the desire is not there to go, then one will feel that what I'm doing is fine. Oh, I'm chanting 16 rounds. I'm getting it done. There should always be room for improvement. There should be sincere desire. I'm not doing anything. My rounds are not good. I have to improve on my quality of round. I have to chant all my rounds in Brahma. I have to sit attentively. I have to focus. I have to improve. So that should be the desire. That should be the consciousness. I'm just repeating all this for myself.
No, thank you. It really, really helps. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to add or share anything on this point? Yeah, this is the essence, actually. I'm glad you brought this point, because this is the essence, and the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So Mahatma Prabhu gave such a nice seminar. Most of you were present. If you're not present, please try to hear those 2 classes. Otherwise, we will continue to chant. We don't want to set, bad habits or bad japa habits. The more time we spend doing bad japa, the more difficult it will be to chant good japa. For example, the more wrong habits, old habits kind of die hard situation. So we don't want to develop a bad japa habit. We all know, I know where am I lacking, where I need to work on, what is my shortcoming. and the ideal standard is mentioned. So based on one situation, Krishna understands, and then we have to slowly strive towards that. There. Anything else anyone would like to share, ask, tell? Okay, so we will pause here and continue tomorrow with the next verse. So thank you so much to all the Vaishnavas for joining. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.